Hello and welcome to a brand new series here on the channel. We're going to be doing series 23 with the Emberpelts Faction Mod. We're going to talk a little bit more about these guys once we're in game, but they got a bunch of really cool, unique stuff we can do. And we're going to play on a custom map recommended by a viewer named DieselDoug3198, Badwater Ridge, which we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get in there, but the lore behind this map is that all of the clean water kind of filters in with all of the bad water, and your starting location basically has this semi-polluted area that has a very, very limited amount of space to grow crops in. But I'll go ahead and link all this stuff in the video description if you want to go check it out for yourself and read all of the stuff behind this. We'll go ahead and get started. Of course, we're going to play hard mode because we've been playing a whole lot of easy, and the apocalypse mode nonsense is going to make hard mode, normal hard mode, seem like a walk in the park. We'll go ahead and get started. All right, so of course we're going to name our starting settlement Beaverburg 23 because it is the 23rd series we've done on this channel. And right off the bat, you're going to notice there is no irrigation to be found here. Let's go ahead and hit pause. We, of course, start with our normal 8 adults, 4 kits. And let's take a look at the beavers because they've got a pretty cool design. So Emberpelts, fire beavers, most of them are this kind of reddish tint, and they do have a varying degree of redness to them. But if you get a gray-furred beaver, they can have these designs on their pelts. I think that's really, really cool. You got this on the side, and then there's another one that's on the back. I don't know. This guy who's employed by the district center, or maybe, there we go. Get them to separate themselves a little bit. Got a little bit of a design on the back, and I thought that was pretty neat. So, yeah, it's slightly randomized when you start with these guys. If you watched our live stream playthrough, then you're going to remember that as well. But let's go ahead and take a look at this map, and you might be saying to yourself, this looks completely insane. There's no way you're going to be able to survive. And you would be wrong, because the Emberpelts are a very, very cool faction. They have a lot of different food items you can plant. Basically entirely different with the exception of the canola, the wheat, and the corn. We also have radishes, which is our early game, no processing required food. We've got tomatoes, we've got beets, we've got bell peppers. And to process those, we have a bunch of different food buildings that are being used, some of them in different ways from what we're used to. Of course, we can harvest berries and all that good stuff. The farmhouse for these guys is a little bit different. We'll get to that in a second. But the grill in this one can grill corn with absolutely nothing else, and it quadruples the amount you get, which is great. And then you can also have grilled bell peppers, but those bell peppers do require the canola. So that's that. Gristmill, of course, like you might expect, is going to require wheat and corn instead of the cattails, if you're familiar with the Folktales playthroughs that we've done. And then the bakery, this is where we have a bunch of really cool new stuff. We've got apple pies, we've got stuffed peppers, we've got baked beets, and we've got cornbread. So there's a bunch of different processing for different things that we have to do. And a lot of it goes down to the press here, because it's not just for taking your canola seeds and pressing canola oil. You can take apples and make apple juice. You can take tomatoes and make tomato juice. You can take radishes and beets together and make beet and radish juice. And you can take corn and a little bit of water and make some corn juice. And all of those things can be consumed as a thirst quencher, which is awesome, especially for this map because, there's basically no clean water anywhere to be found in the starting area. Now, that's not to say we can't pump out of this. We absolutely can. It's just going to be a little bit less efficient because, well, it's mixed bad water. So let's do a little bit of bad water tracing here. Turn this on to see-through mode. So you can see there's a bunch of blockages everywhere. This is a really, really well-designed map, and one of the reasons why I really wanted to do a series with it, because there's just so much to do if you want to 100% complete the map. You see this down here? This is an underground road. Do you have any idea how far down that is? It's so far down. Like, you have to do a lot of pumping or waiting for evaporation or whatever to use this at all. Then you continue following this back, and you got a bad water source, but it's way down there too. So if you're going to plug that thing up, you're going to have to build a scaffolding over the top, or you're going to have to send beavers way down in there to build the structures onto these things. Which, speaking of, since this is the Emberpelts, we have both the bad water discharge from the Iron Teeth, and we have the bad water rig from the Folktales, so there's a lot of good variety there. And of course, you can still put everything through the centrifuge to make the extract. But just this one area here has 1 and 2 of these things, and it just goes everywhere, man. This is such a cool map. And when I say it goes everywhere, it goes everywhere. Everything's connected. We've got these 3 water sources here. Pop into dev mode real quick to show you the strength on them. This one's 2, this one's 3, and this one is 2. So you have a total of 7 strength coming in from here. And that all comes down, mixes with this bad water, goes off of this little cliffside here, and then continues past that to mix with this and this to then come out this side of the map. And then if you follow all of this goodness here, we got a little stream here to exit off the map. And then all the way up here, we've got a lot of water sources. And look at this one. This one is 6. 2, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 2. So, yeah, you can do the math on that. This is a tremendous quantity of water that's being just gushed forth out of these sources at all times. So, obviously, the holy grail of this map, if you want access to clean water, is to get up here and build everything. But it's very far. It's very far, so that's going to be a pretty good challenge. And, of course, all of this clean water goes and mixes down into these pools here that have a lot of opportunity to dam up and make some nice water areas. But, of course, all of this does mix with bad water elsewhere as well. We have this here and this here. Of course, bad water sources are strength 3. That's normal. But all of it it mixes together so nicely in such an interesting way. Also, there's 2 more of these here, in case you were curious. There's so many bad water sources on this map, and everything just combines in such a way that makes it almost impossible to cheese. You have to be very deliberate about how you're going to go around and interact with the bad water here. So let's come out of dev mode and put this back on. Like I said, when we started this, I showed you the little description for the map there. I wasn't going to take the time to read all of it because it's kind of long. But the basic idea is this map forces you to interact with bad water and doesn't give you a choice at all. So, the Emberpelts, this is a great opportunity to take advantage of this map's unique charm and different fun things you can do. Because these beavers, if you, let's see if this shows it. They have a fundamental need for fire, and if they get wet, they get really mad. They don't like getting wet at all. Every other beaver faction loves the wet fur. The Emberpelts hate it. So there's really an incentive to avoid these guys getting wet and get things started. So, like I usually do to start out, we want to scope out good places to plant crops. And you might notice there's not a lot of them. This is really, really not set up to be farmed with any sort of ease. But all is not lost because we have this little horseshoe area here, and we can come in and demolish blockages to let water, well, a mixture of good and bad water. It's because it's not actually got the tendrils coming out, it is under 50% concentration, but it's bad enough that things are not going to be super fantastic for the beavers if they end up walking in that. But we're going to go ahead, unpause. Finally, I know there's at least a couple of you like, get on with it already. I know, it's fine. So the Emberpelts have a couple different types of paths, which are neat. We have our regular path here, we have our path with railings, and then they have this wooden path, which I think is fantastic. Looks pretty cool, but we'll save those for another time. For right now, we need to get started getting some of these trees removed. So I'm going to go ahead and just pop that pretty close to what we've got going on here. And, of course, mark these for cutting. Eventually, we'll be able to get a whole bunch of other stuff situated. But, of course, you have to start somewhere. So that's going to allow them to start doing that. And I am going to go ahead and undo this blockage, which we can do in the newer version of the game without getting down beneath it. We're just going to have one of these guys come up here and manually demolish it. And that's going to let some of this delicious, soupy, whatever mixture nasty water in here so we have more of an area to grow crops. with whatever land this irrigation chooses to bless us with. But that shouldn't take too long. You'll note that the blueberries here, there's basically just this one that's already fully grown, and this is the only food we start with. So we are definitely in a situation where we want to get food going as fast as possible. So the first thing we build with all of our wood is going to be a farmhouse. And based on how this is looking here, I think we're going to want to have this probably, depending on how far this irrigation goes, move this accordingly. I think right there is probably fine. Go ahead and just connect that to a path. And you'll see that even though this is kind of contaminated water, we still have a decent bit of irrigation that it's going to allow us to do, which is good. And we're going to go ahead and get things started here. Now, remember what I said. The press is going to be our best friend, but we have to research a bunch of stuff to get there. So for the time being, the only things that can actually be eaten raw, I am pretty sure, it's embarrassing that I don't know this because I'm 5 episodes deep into a live stream, but with this faction, radishes, and I'm pretty sure they'll eat the tomatoes raw as well. Maybe a decent portion of these, but regardless, radishes are going to be the super easy early game thing for us to do, so we'll go ahead and get those planted. Ah, yes. Ah, yes, we have we have flooding. So that's going to be a fun problem to solve. I probably should have taken care of that a little bit better. Just a little bit. Oh, are we gonna find out the fun way? What happens when all of these get super saturated here? Well, as long as the beavers don't actually, you know, get infected with any of this, then I think that's going to be a good thing. We're going to go ahead and give them another lumberjack flag to help them out there, because we really want to get these radishes planted as quickly as possible. And then, of course, we can start with our water pumping, which, you know, always fun when you have nasty water. That's your only source, basically. But you know how it goes. Early game Timberborn, a little bit of a struggle, but nothing we haven't done before. So we'll go ahead and just let them do what they're gonna do. And of course, speed through the night here, where they got nothing to do, so they just walk around like a bunch of you-know-whats. It's just chilling everywhere. But we can go ahead and start gathering these berries. Where's the closest I can put this without it taking stuff away? Probably right about here? Yeah. Now, I know they still have to walk a far way to get these blueberries, but this does put it a little bit closer to what we are working on. Yeah, still waiting on the logs there. These guys are taking care of that ever so slowly. And get the rest of that stuff situated. So while we're waiting on them to do this, it's probably a good opportunity to talk a little bit more about some of the other stuff that the Emberpelts have access to. Now, of course, we have our monuments, regular monuments that you would remember from the Iron Teeth, but they've got their own. Ah, see, we're very thirsty boys and girls here. Not for long. This water pump should be able to take care of stuff. But these guys are so thirsty. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and extend this to a 20-hour workday. So we can get somebody pumping water so these guys will be able to, you know, not be completely thirsty at all times. There we go. Put that back down to 16. But they've got their own Wonder of Fire, which is a really cool looking thing. 7x7, just like the other ones, except this is actually 7x7 and not 5x5 with little bulges in the center like the other factions' wonders are. So that's obviously our end game goal here. Yeah, probably should go ahead and build another one of these water pumps, because look at that -10, because we have a -8 on the thirst and a -3 on the shelter. Yeah, good times, early Timberborn struggles, like everybody knows. And we have 3 beavers in the farmhouse here. I told you guys I was going to talk about this. So this model is actually based on the aquatic farmhouse from the folktales, but of course it's not aquatic, and because these beavers hate water, none of them are going to be aquatic ever in this playthrough. But I do like the 2x3 wide design we've got here, and these are all planted, so we're going to go ahead and I guess expand out to some tomatoes. Seems like that would be a smart choice. And then we can start planting beets as well, just to give a little bit more for them to do, because we're going to use this stuff eventually. We might as well grow it. Don't have any room really behind this to grow anything until we get some of this water a little bit cleaner. But for right now, this gives them something to do. And yeah, you know what? We definitely do need to put in another water pump. That would be a very smart thing for us to do. So yeah, they've already got all the logs to do it. That shouldn't take too long. Got a pretty good amount of berries. I guess these bushes grew in at just the right time for some of that stuff. And we're going to want to start doing some storages and definitely housing, because these beavers by default breed using the folktales method, which is if you got extra beds, fill the beds, versus the iron teeth of having the vats of infant beavers, or whatever you want to call it. But there is an add-on mod for the Emberpelts. The same guy who made this has called Phoenix Pods, that basically turns it into the iron teeth breeding style. And there's a bunch of other add-ons. I do have the ladders for Emberpelts installed for this, and then I've got simple floodgate triggers and a couple of quality of life type things. Try to remember to put those somewhere, because people always seem to ask me about those, even if I bring it up. But I really like these guys, and we haven't even talked about the rest of the stuff that's unique. I guess I could just kind of mix that in now while we're waiting on everything else to get taken care of. So, like I said, we do have the two bad water things from both original factions. Everything else that you might come to expect, levees, floodgates, flat top double floodgates. That's a new thing that we have access to with those guys. And then, of course, we have regular sluices. So I guess we could just kind of compare these a little bit. I haven't really done anything with these in my live stream playthrough, but regular floodgate, of course, has that little hoist mechanism right there, and then the flat top floodgate has the ability to walk on top of it, build on top of them, whatever. Which is, if you remember from a long time ago, there's a mod called, I think it's Water Extension, that has these other styles of floodgates that you could walk on top of, but this is its own separate thing. We have the contamination barrier from the folktales, not the irrigation barrier that has like the complete blocking of water. This just blocks the nasty stuff. Everything else, what you'd expect. Storages, we got some new buildings that are kind of cool. Hey, okay, before I get too excited, I am going to start growing corn. So these guys have something to do. Put corn there. Wheat is going to require some processing, so I don't think we really want to mess with that yet. Canola we will need at some point, so I'm just kind of dragging this out to see where they'll actually plant stuff, because you can get kind of close depending on how you want to have stuff going. But yeah, let these guys do what they're going to do. What was I see, I already forgot. Storage. We have the industrial piles from the iron teeth, with the addition of this large industrial pile that has a second floor entrance, holds 600 items. And then we also have the underground pile from the folktales that holds 1,800. Then for warehouses, you already know, you got small warehouse, medium warehouse holds 30 and 200 respectively. Then we have the large warehouse that holds 1,200. We all know about that. But then these guys also have the underground warehouse that holds 3,600 items. So that's a cool, unique thing. We've got small tanks, we've got medium tanks, we've got large tanks that hold 1,200, and then we also have underground tanks that hold 2,400. So that's going to come in really, really handy when we have our presses going and making all sorts of liquids. Pay no attention to the fact that these guys are very, very, very thirsty. They'll figure that out in time. Under wood, we have, of course, regular lumber mill, and we have just recently added to this mod, I think this past week, large lumber mill, which employs 2 beavers, takes 75 HP and makes lumber twice as fast as this one, the base one. Takes 50 HP to power and has 1 beaver staffing. So yeah, this is a great space-efficient version, which is fantastic. We've got the regular gear workshop, takes 120 HP, makes a gear in 3 hours for 1 plank. This large one also takes 120 HP, but makes a gear in an hour and a half with 2 beavers. So that's a great improvement there. In terms of metal, everything you know and love about the regular smelter, 200 HP. But you notice that recipe is a little different. It doesn't take logs, it takes what's called charcoal. And charcoal gets made with the brand new clay thing here. We got an entirely new production tree. It's not a huge production tree, but it still is a new production tree. You have a clay pit that you can place anywhere, and they get clay out of the ground. And then you put that in a kiln. You can make bricks, or you can also use the kiln building to turn logs into charcoal. And charcoal goes into the new engine mechanic here. And we have, in addition to the base engine, which has been slightly modified to put out 500 HP instead of 400, this runs on charcoal. And we have an early game engine option, which is fantastic. It takes log burning, produces half as much power as the regular engine, but it doesn't require metal to build. It only requires clay, planks, and logs. So you can get a very good early game start with automated power, which is fantastic because these guys only have access to the compact water wheel and the shaming wheel, the wheel of torture, whatever you want to call this thing. So having access to that's great. Plus you have the windmills. I never really use these very much. But hey, if you press R a whole bunch of times and rotate it, it looks like a really, really low frame rate animation. That's kind of cool. Nobody asked, so we're going to continue. Liquid fuel engine, again, a completely unique item for these guys. Can run on any of the fuels. 1/2 unit of fuel in 1 hour makes 1,000 HP. And, of course, requires bricks to build, as do some of these advanced buildings. And I think it's in replacement in some ways of the treated planks. Not one for one, but it definitely appears in some of those recipes. Science, you have the number cruncher. I know there's some of you who will definitely be happy about that. And then you got the refinery, and look at all these recipes for fuel. There's a bunch of different ways you can make fuel, and then of course you have lubricant, and then you have what's called Phoenix Essence, which goes into, I believe, the pods, if you have the Phoenix Pods expansion mod for this, which we don't currently. We might switch to at some point. But basically anything in this game can be turned into fuel, but what really catches my eye here is the 2 charcoal and 20 bad water getting turned into fuel, so you don't have to worry about your crops being a problem. So that's pretty cool. They do have bots, and they got a bot assembler, and they've got control towers, so it's a little bit from each faction. Same story here with the well-being. We've got rooftop terraces, teeth grindstones, medical beds, contemplation spot from the folktales. We've got the decontamination pod from the Iron Teeth. We've got the scratcher from the Iron Teeth. We've got the carousel, the original carousel design, before they changed it, I think, in update 5, maybe? Exercise plaza, and then we've got the detailer, of course, and then we have the dance hall from the folktales. Decorations, same kind of story, but this is pretty much just the Iron Teeth ones. And I think that's just about all the new stuff that we can think of, or I can think of, rather, as we continue moving forward here. Hopefully, we get some radishes pretty soon, because we only got 26 berries left, and it's not looking fantastic right there. So we're going to go ahead and get into housing. Oh, I didn't talk about this. We got lodges, regular lodges. We've got the vertical lodge, which is a variant of the, well, I guess it's kind of a hybrid of the single lodge from the folktales and the regular lodge, just vertically oriented. Double lodge you might know from the folktales. But look at this, we got a double vertical lodge here. And you see this thing on the far end, the tenement lodge? This is 2 triples stacked on top of each other. And if you've seen my live stream playthrough, you already know what I'm going to say about this. But what's really cool about these, as hopefully our beavers don't die of thirst here, is that you have 2 doors. So you can actually daisy chain these together, which long-time Beard Booster channel viewer Jason has pointed out to me several weeks back before I decided to do it in one of the live streams. You can make some pretty crazy-looking stuff by making one entrance go into the entrance of the other one. As long as you have one entrance of any of the connected lodges that empties out onto a path, they can all just be infinitely daisy-chained, as far as I can tell. So you can make some pretty crazy-looking stuff. We might use that later. And then, of course, we do have this thing here, which is just the regular Iron Teeth barracks, but instead of holding 10, it holds 9, and it has the entrance on the ground floor. So I think for the purposes of what we are doing here, I'm going to go ahead and put in... Ah, I haven't unlocked it. That's right. All right, well, in that case, it's just the regular boring old lodges like we've done before. That is not in the correct place for me to want to do that, but we'll yeah, I'll tell you what, we'll just put 2 right there. Try to make ourselves a little bit of a decent area here for the beavers. Early game is always a little bit of a challenge. So, appreciate you guys sticking with me on that. Yeah, they're getting further and further away with these trees here. We really want to get across the river, but that's going to require some science to build bridges. Because, you know, the beavers really don't want to be messing with this. And we do have the dead trees back here, so that probably should be what we're going to focus on next. Just mark all those. And I will go ahead and put in a little thing there. Give them a path. And that's going to be what they are going to be working on next. But you can very clearly see there's a lot of really cool stuff about this mod that I really like, and I think it's a lot of fun. Of course, none of that's going to matter if we, you know, kill the beavers by just dying of thirst before we get anywhere. So, you know how it goes. We just got to do what we got to do. Speed through the rest of the night here, and hopefully, sometime soon we can get some radishes, because we're not going to be living on the berries forever. It's a good thing that we have them. But as you can see, nothing is ever easy in hard mode. Oh, and look at that. We've got a drought approaching, folks. So yes. Oh, yes. I love hard mode. I love hard mode so much. All of this water is going to disappear. Unless we have a way to, you know, keep our beavers... I guess I can't really say safe and satiated here because this is still definitely toxic, nasty water. But let's prioritize building some tanks, shall we? Yeah, eventually we're gonna need to put in some dams, and I don't have the logs for it yet. But we're gonna be hurting. We're gonna be in some deep stuff if we don't have all that built. So I'm gonna go ahead and just say pause that lodge. And let's get some dams built. That absolutely has to be the priority here. Hey, look, we got that well-being up from 1 all the way to 3. That's what I'm talking about. But we do have some of these beavers that can actually, you know, sleep in a lodge and get all that going. Yeah, build at least these 2 dams here so we can still have some water. I know the first drought is almost always really short. But if we allow ourselves to get into a bad situation with our farming not keeping up, then it's curtains. We're not going to last very long at all. So maybe my misplaced zeal in describing all the fun stuff you could do with these beavers might end up causing us a couple problems. But that's nothing new. Nothing you guys haven't seen before. So we got 1.3 days. This one's got 4 out of 20 logs. I don't think... Yeah, there's only a couple of these that are still in range, so I'm going to go ahead and I guess pause those. They're still overnight, so it's fine. But we definitely want to get these guys situated as best as we can, so we'll go ahead and put in 2 more of those. And yeah, it's not going to be a problem getting this finished in 1 day. We already have all the logs necessary for it. We just have to make sure that they actually build it. And we've got some radishes. So our farmers are going to be harvesting those, and our very hungry beavers are going to be eating them. But that is a-okay. Gonna be doing what we can with what we got. That's what we always do. Just make sure they get this dam fully complete by the end of the day. And that should be a-okay. And then we can focus during the drought on maybe improving some storage for stuff, because we certainly don't have that down pat at all. But that's alright. We got some radishes ready to go. Stuff's looking pretty good. Get these guys with the rest of the logs up there, taking the longest, most circuitous route possible. And yes, we are going to eventually replace these blockages with dams so we can walk across this. But you know how it goes. We got 2 more logs, and then this just gets finished. And there you go. Now we are, well, we're not necessarily drought-proofed, but this has substantially helped. We got some canola dying, which is, I guess, going to be unavoidable, but it's fine. I think it probably should be okay once we have a little bit more robust of a setup here. I am going to go ahead and finish this lodge, and we are going to need to build additional ones because, remember, these guys use the folktales and breeding method of just fill up the houses as fast as possible. But outside of that, it's going to be a good idea for us to get some storages in place for different foodstuffs like medium warehouses. Just real nice and easy. We can put in some for, if I can remember what these things look like. We got radishes, and then we got berries. Probably should keep a good storage of those. Just nice and easy, right on hand here. Then I think, depending on how we want to do this, if I want to make something look a little bit slightly artistic, I could do some sort of nonsense like that. People did ask for me to do a little bit more of an aesthetically focused playthrough in the next one, so I mean, I can't promise that it's going to be the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, but we can give it an honest try. Nothing wrong with that. This lodge will bring us up to normal capacity of 12 beavers, but we definitely, like I said, want to have additional beavers, because that's how you grow. It's how you have success. And we do have 77 water stored up, which, if this ends up being a short drought, then it's going to be totally fine. I'm pretty sure regular hard mode isn't ruthless like that. It's probably just going to be a couple of days. We'll see what happens. See what happens here. See, other stuff that I'm trying to remember about the Emberpelts that might be kind of fun. 5 days as the first drought. Really? Well, that certainly is going to be an interesting problem for us to solve. I'm going to pause both of the water pumps for right now. Get some more beavers in the district center. Oh, you know what? We haven't renamed that properly. Beaverburg 23. Yeah, we're going to want to hold on to this for a little bit, but it's a good thing that we do have the radishes that we're pulling out of the ground and replanting. It's a shame about this, but, you know, that's just one of those things that happens. And hopefully we can get some stuff figured out on slowly cleaning the water. Like, you can kind of see here, as stuff starts drying out, that it is a little bit more leaning toward the clean water than you might think, given the red tinge it's got to it. But I think we've got a reasonable shot of reaching some sort of slightly cleaner area here. Eventually, maybe not right off the bat, but we now have housing for all of the beavers who already existed. They're going to go ahead and build us a storage for radishes, since the farmhouse is almost completely full on those guys. And that's going to be nice to have access for that. We've got our berry bushes. Not harvesting right now because the storage on the gatherer's flag is full, but not for long. And take a look at this. I love the color combination with the Emberpelts. The nice rich red interior, and you got the orangish on the top. And all the crates just have such a nice look to them. Channel members have had access to a couple of these as emotes for a while, along with the number cruncher from this mod, which I can't place down because I don't have the science for it yet. But I don't know, I just really like the design choice here. It kind of reminds me in a certain way of very early Timberborn. If you've ever watched my very first series, first of all, I'm sorry that you had to endure that. It's not very good, but I like to keep them up just as a reminder of what we've accomplished and how much fun we've had with all the different stuff in the game over the past 3.5 years. But the original models for a lot of these buildings did have this kind of darker main wood color to them. Well, I guess this, depending on how you look at it, this might actually just be more of like a mud. But I don't know, I really like the aesthetic of this mod. I think it looks really good. And it's a really charming, unique take on the thing with a lot of fun new stuff, but not so completely ridiculously difficult like the Water Beavers mod to where it's not accessible to a whole lot of people. Anybody watching this can probably download this mod and have a fantastic time without having to sit there and think about, you know, okay, what kind of super involved processes do I have to go through and what kind of nonsense is going to happen because of where I have to plug the power into this building or whatever. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the Water Beaver mod. And I'm gonna probably just keep on playing it until it stops getting developed because I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess you could say. But this is a whole lot more accessible and it's still a whole lot of fun. So highly, highly recommend you pick this up. It's on the Steam Workshop and I believe mod.io as well. But now that we're starting to get our tomatoes, let's go ahead and give ourselves a place to put those. Which is going, that's bell peppers. This is tomatoes, which are edible because they're under the food category. You'll notice we also have apples, which we can grow on trees, but everything else has to be processed outside of the radishes that we've already got. So that's tomatoes, like I said. And then I think, what else did I plant here? I got beets and corn. Well, we're not going to be really able to do much with the beets yet, but since I planted those and they're going to be harvested soon, we might as well have a storage for those guys. And I guess I can go ahead and let these guys keep on doing their thing. We do have one extra beaver, and these are almost all cut down, so we're almost out of stuff for these guys to do without starting to get kind of serious about doing some research. So let's go ahead and start building inventors, because we're going to need some serious science to do all of this fun stuff that we have planned for the beavers. So go ahead and build 4 of those. Just get them a little complex going here, because we're going to want to have the ability to build stairs and platforms and all sorts of stuff, because we have to get up top so we can get into the nice water and we can start putting stuff on top of our bad water sources. But for right now, we've got our little horseshoe lake here. Very nice early game farming area that will keep our beavers alive. Maybe not necessarily super happy about it, but you know how it goes. Take these things away because we don't need anything. Well, there's nothing for them to do in the first place. So once these inventors are ready to go, they will be able to get in there. I will go ahead and deprioritize all of these as workplaces, just so future things aren't as much of a problem. And we are out of wood, yes, I know. But if we can build just one of these, I can get enough science to go ahead and start thinking about making our way over here. Now, before you ask, no, there is no way with the slopes to get down and across. I did check that out before I started. But we can go down here, and there are some trees available, so I am going to go ahead and get this situated, ready to go here, so we can grab some of that stuff. Probably should go ahead and make that a priority as well. And we could plant other crops down here. Just for right now, the wood is what we need to focus on. So we'll let these guys do what they got to do. And we are going to have to start pumping water out of here, or else we're going to be having some very, very thirsty beavers. And we don't have presses yet. So, you know, that's going to be a problem. But there's only 3 days left. So I think most of these crops will survive about 2 days without having water. And we do have half of this that is still here. But as we continue draining this with our pumps, then it may end up being a problem. We'll see what happens. But like I said, the beavers are able to take care of what they want to take care of here. I did not mark these for cutting. Good job, me. Well, we'll go ahead and fix that real quick. I am a little bit absent-minded, yes. So if that bothers you, sorry. But we're going to do our best here. Get these guys cutting trees down, building inventors, and all that fun stuff. Yes, I know. Before we build stairs, we do have to have planks, and we have to have all this other stuff taken care of. It'll all come in time. Right now, just focused on getting a decent start for our beavers here. And I think I can go ahead and pause These guys, again, just want to make sure we don't ever run out of water. I want to keep these irrigated without having to have stuff on the end drying out as much as I can avoid it. Yeah, but now we should have some inventing occur, which is always fun. And then see what else we can get ourselves into. And I did build the additional 2 lodges, so we are going to have additional babies, which is fine. You know, we need more beaver labor. But there will come a point in time where this ends up being a little bit much if we're not careful. But I think everything is going to be just fine. Remember, like I said at the beginning, these guys can drink from any of the juices, and 99% sure it fulfills their thirst need, but we have to get there first. So this is a faction that's absolutely perfect for super long droughts. So long as you can irrigate your crops properly, then you're probably going to be okay long term. Yes, we got one there because these guys are cutting down all of our trees here. And outside of that, there's not a ton of easily accessible wood pretty much anywhere else except right here. We do have a little bit of a start of a staircase here, but you know, there's not really anything over here, so don't get too comfy with that. This would be a perfect time to get across here, but I don't have the wood to do that, which is unfortunate. We will have to wait for platforms, probably, to make most of that a thing. And now we have less than 1 day, so I'm not going to feel bad about pumping this entire thing dry, because we do have to have the beavers actually, you know, able to survive. That's going to be okay. These bushes are going to be re-wet in a couple of days anyhow, so that's looking fine. We've got a decent bit of logs here, but I still only have 7 science points because these guys are off doing who knows what. So I am going to go ahead and take a look at our ranges here. Most of the stuff still is in range, so I'm kind of tempted, although they're out of storage space. Let's go ahead and pause these, have these guys start being inventors. And let's think about putting in some other storage for logs. This will be a perfect place to put that, just kind of on the outskirts of town here. And yeah, that's going to bring us into cycle number 2. So, whether or not you enjoy the long or the short of it, I do think it's probably best to just keep this first cycle as its own video for now, because there's so much cool stuff we're going to be able to get to in cycle 2 as we start unlocking the actual unique buildings. Always some sort of cool thing. So let's turn that water pump back on and let these guys get to work building all their stuff. And I want to show you how these things kind of interact with each other as this fills up. You can see the water slowly coming back because I could put that on triple speed. But yeah, these things all just mix together in a really, really fun way. So you can kind of get a feel for just how complicated it's going to be to get all of this cleaned up. It's a lot of work. I can't promise that we're going to do all of it, but it does pose a very nice challenge that I think a lot of Timberborn maps don't necessarily do. The only one I could think of that would come close to this in the vanilla game would probably be Thousand Islands, which we played before in the Update 4 Folktales playthrough with all the mods, which was a whole lot of fun. So you can see we're going to get water here in a little bit, probably toward the middle of the night here. You can see this starting to build up, but now we got this torrent just gushing out of this area, and I'm hoping it's not going to splash. It probably won't if I slow it down. But yeah, there you have it. We've got very early game Emberpelts up and running in some sort of fashion here. Still plenty to do, but like I always say, this is a let's play, not a watch me play. So if you have any ideas, any questions, comments, whatever about the Emberpelts as a faction or the game or what we're doing here, please do always leave a comment. I always read them. I try to respond to as many as I can, especially in the early game videos. But yeah, just let me know what you think about these guys. I really like this faction. I think it's a whole lot of fun, and I love seeing people develop different stuff for the game that does things that I never would have thought of, like having a faction that's only beavers who like fire and hate getting wet. Because basically the entirety of Timberborn is, hey, you got to control water. You have to make different spaces to store water and give your beavers the ability to enjoy it and all that. And then these guys come along like, well, I don't want any of that. So that's cool. It kind of turns the game on its head a little bit, and it adds new things that are exciting, but not really stressful to try to think about, which, again, I love the water beavers to death. It is a fantastic mod, but it's really hard. It's really, really hard. And a lot of people who just kind of casually play the game probably don't really have the desire to go into too much of that. So I'm glad this exists. But that is all the time we got for this one. I really appreciate you watching the videos. You can see the name of the beard boosters on the screen. We've got, I think to date, probably close to 1,500 people who have been on the list at some point. I never take anybody off. It's probably a mistake because then it gets to be incredibly hard for me to keep up with stuff. But every single one of those people are very important to me because they kind of put their money where their mouth is, so to speak, to support what we're doing here, which is just enjoying playing good games without taking sponsorships from companies that nobody wants to hear from. I just like playing games. I don't want to sell you VPNs or bad therapy or whatever. I like the Beaver game. I like these other games, and I like you guys, and I'm glad we get to spend this time together. So whatever it is you're doing with the rest of your day, stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you back again soon for more shenanigans with the Emberpelts. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.